I need a script. I need guardrails. All right. I wore red, but it's because the pants fit. And ready. By the time I am done speaking, you will learn a 3-word phrase that will increase your emotional intelligence. I am confident that the concept and the application of this 3-word phrase will change your life. You will grow in emotional intelligence, which is to increase empathy, enhance your self-awareness, elevate your social skills, and deepen your relationships. Emotional intelligence, which is EQ, not IQ, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, is the ability to recognize, understand, manage, and influence emotions, both in yourself and others. Our goal today has been to learn soft skills, right? Soft skills can make us more successful in life. Research suggests that individuals with higher EQ are better at leadership, negotiation, and interpersonal relationships. And these are key factors in career advancement and salary growth. Yes, emotionally intelligent people tend to make more money. The magic of this 3-word phrase is not only in the benefits with our connections and others, we could also use it inside our own heads. And so I've been teed up really nicely for this because there's some critical thinking here. There's also some benefits of using this phrase not only with our bosses, our coworkers, and clients. We get to use it with our children, our friends, and even strangers. So do you want to hear it? Yes. You ready? Before I share it, I should introduce myself. My name is Thera. It's spelled with an H. I'm a therapist named Thera with an H. It's very confusing, and I apologize. This logo here, this is the logo I've chosen to represent my private practice. This nifty image of a fingerprint in my favorite color combination is a daily reminder to me that every client, every situation, every person is as unique as a fingerprint. No two are alike. I remember a client who came to me to process the loss of her father. She shared with me that he was a wonderful, wonderful man, her biggest fan, her advocate, and her mentor. His sudden death during a routine medical procedure was unexpected, devastating, maddening, and heartbreaking for her. When she left my office after our session, my phone rang, and another woman called, and on the other end, she says, "Hi, really quiet. I'm interested in grief counseling, maybe? My father just suddenly died." I could have said, "I'm so sorry. It's so hard to lose our biggest fan, our advocate, our mentor. I know exactly what you're going through. I just had a client like that." Instead, I asked her to elaborate. She took a deep breath and responded, "I'm relieved. He was abusive all of my life. Everyone keeps saying I'm sorry for your loss, but I finally feel free." I could have all of the advanced degrees, take all of the courses, read all the books, get all the textbook education, and still that would never replace the crucial and necessary role of simply being a safe space, a good listener, a non-judgmental human being who is physically and emotionally there for the person who is processing out loud and who's telling their story, often for the first time. Their story, their situation, their experience, their relationship, it's as unique as a fingerprint. It is my personal and professional commitment to have radical curiosity in every situation. This concept of radical curiosity has led me to this 3-word phrase that I've come up with. Before we dive in, just one more recap. The prefix intra means within, okay? The prefix inter means between. We will be looking at how this phrase can be used with other people, inter, and inside our own minds, intra. We're going to learn how to increase our emotional intelligence by focusing on empathy, self-awareness, and mood regulation. Okay, I think we're finally ready. Are we ready? Enough lead up on that. Tell me more. Stating or asking, tell me more, is a simple yet powerful way to foster deeper understanding, build connections, and enhance emotional intelligence. Okay, enter. When you say, tell me more, you signal genuine interest and encourage others to open up. This allows you to better understand their emotions, perspectives, and experiences. And I believe, we talked about stories. I've got some stories, and now we're going to get more fun. I'm going to give you some personal stories here. When we first moved to Portugal, I was looking for high-intensity interval training classes. I've attended fit body boot camps. I'm certified in CrossFit. I've done kickboxing, but we got here and I didn't have a car. So I needed to find a gym within walking distance from our apartment. I joined the nearest one, but it was huge. And I quickly realized I had no idea how to use those Globo-style machines. I had no idea how to use them. I couldn't speak Portuguese, and I was super intimidated. I thought about quitting, but then I had the idea to work with one of the gym's trainers who could help me navigate the busy gym floor, teach me how to use those crazy weight machines, and hopefully the intimidation would go away. The gym connected me with an English-speaking trainer, and at our initial meeting, which is called the assessment, the first question he asked as he was holding his pen and clipboard was, how much weight do you want to lose? I was kind of quiet, so he asked a different way. What do you want to change about your body? I answered, I don't know how to answer that question. So he asked me again, what part of your body do you hate the most? And I said, as a feminist, I refused to answer that question. I tried to explain that I just wanted help navigating those machines. I appreciated his ability to speak English. He interrupted me to say, so your legs? Your stomach? I've been training him, so it's worked out. If you work with, I'm training him. I'm his life coach. If you work with clients as a personal trainer, or you're a real estate agent, or you're a freelancer or an entrepreneur, it is crucial that you don't make assumptions or comparisons or stereotypes. I really needed him to start with, why are you here? Tell me more. Okay? When I was 6 years old, my parents divorced, and my elementary school provided a counseling session. I remember the counselor sat me down, looked me in my little 6-year-old eyes, and said, Thera, your parents' divorce is not your fault. I wasn't thinking that, but then now should I? Why did she bring that up? We need to stop making assumptions, although Kendall will disagree with me. We should stop projecting our own interpretations, statistics, or platitudinal advice to others. Remember the fingerprint. Everyone's experience, everyone's motivation for service is different. Another time, tell me more is a great tool. When someone's reaction might seem bigger or more intense than what's necessary. I had a friend once who shared with me, Thera, I have no idea what's going on with my husband. The other day, he lost a pencil eraser, and he seriously lost his mind. I mean, he stomped around the house, slamming doors. He was acting like a teenager. He was having a tantrum. And I said, tell me more. Jenny said, it was a $2 eraser. I thought, I'm curious. Tell me more about other times he's lost something or someone. Jenny was quiet for a few seconds and then gasped, oh my goodness, Thera, his mother died when he was a teenager. She was sick on home hospice, and they knew she was near the end. So they sent him to the store to run errands. And I think the story goes, he went to an office supply store. He wasn't home when she took her last breath. Oh gosh, I feel awful. Jenny's judgment about the eraser quickly turned to empathy and compassion for her husband, who was demonstrating unresolved grief. The loss of the eraser activated the painful, unresolved grief from the loss of his mother. This happens to all of us. Being emotionally intelligent doesn't necessarily mean we need to do a deep dive into emotions every day. Another story. We're a military family, and we move frequently. Last year, my 9-year-old daughter says to me one morning, "I miss my school in Rome." We lived in Rome, Italy, when she was in 2nd grade. I responded with emotional love. "I know, buddy. You miss your friend Laura. You miss your teacher, Mrs. Perry. I'm so sorry. It's so hard to move so much." Carly, she stared at me blankly. Clearly, I didn't understand her. She said, "No, Mom, I missed the school. It had one big door, then you walked in and it was a big square, and it was the same on both sides. Door, 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 door." Symmetry? Yes, it was a great design. I miss that school. So my kid was missing a symmetrical building. I could have said, "Tell me more in the beginning," right? And that would have, she could have told me from the very beginning. That would have saved us some time. Like I said, being emotionally intelligent doesn't mean that we focus solely on emotions. People feel heard and valued when you ask them to elaborate first without jumping to conclusions. Again, this fosters deep trust, more meaningful conversations. Imagine a world where our baseline mode of operation is a state of curiosity. As you can see from my examples, "tell me more" is not just a skill or phrase you use in therapy or grief counseling. It's applicable in all of our social circles. It's critical thinking too. Okay, so intrapersonally, when you ask yourself, "Tell me more" about your thoughts, emotions, or behaviors, you engage in self-inquiry. This helps uncover underlying feelings, motivations, or patterns you might not have noticed. Now, this takes a lot of practice because pausing and asking ourselves to tell me more means we need to do this thing called pause. Another story. About 9 years ago, my husband and I, after having just arrived to a new duty station, sat down to rest among the stacks of moving boxes. We each cracked open a cold beer, and after his first swig, he sighed and said, "When I retire from the Marine Corps, I'd like to work as a bartender at a quiet bar. Just a simple life, pulling the tap on delicious beer." He smiled sweetly to the bottle in his hand. An interesting thing happened to me, though. I was filled with rage. The feelings came suddenly and intensely. Without him noticing, I walked away to the bathroom. Inside the private space, I paused. I asked myself, "Thera, tell me more. What is happening? I'm identifying these intense feelings, but what are the thoughts and core beliefs that are motivating these feelings? I mean, is it about the beer? No, that wasn't it." Through this pause and self-exploration, I realized my husband's simple statement about retiring and then working at a bar, it activated a budding resentment inside of me. My thoughts were actually, "So it will always be about him, huh? I went to college. I paid for my education all on my own. But then I marry an active duty service member and we move. He gets promoted and I am constantly having to find new employment, new doctors, new friends. When will it be my turn?" And now he's planning on it still being about him after he retires. I suppose I'll follow him again as he lives his dreams as a bartender. As I asked myself to tell me more, I realized clearly the man was just enjoying his beer. But I felt that it would never be my turn. I heard something he wasn't saying. I heard, you will always be denied a purpose-filled career. You will follow me everywhere, and your role is to stay in my shadows forever and ever until you die. That's what I heard. When I paused and was curious about my emotions, my thoughts, when I paused, my anger turned into empathy. My mood re-regulated, and I became aware that I needed to get grounded in self-love. And I needed to seek his support in a purpose-filled career for me. And that's a big reason why I'm standing here today. Have you ever heard something that wasn't said? Like my daughter looks in the pantry and says, "We're out of bread." And I hear, "You're the worst mom ever." A boss might say, "Our numbers are low this quarter." And we might hear, "It's all your fault, you're gonna be the first one fired." When we pause and we're objective about our thoughts, we can observe rather than judge, blame, or criticize. The first step may be noticing that you're feeling funky or off. Identify the feelings. There's happy, sad, and angry. Those are feelings that we know, right? But what about more specific feelings, perhaps? Embarrassed, inadequate, invisible, disappointed, inferior, dismissed, forgotten, excluded. These words are more descriptive and can help us backtrack and tell ourselves more. Are there other times we felt this way? Are past wounds being activated? Are we sick? Are our hormones imbalanced? Are we tired? Are we hungry? We get to tell ourselves more. When we pause and we ask this 3-word phrase, we gain clarity about our emotional triggers. We are able to calm our nervous system and control our thoughts, these thoughts that are influencing our emotions, our reactivity, and our behaviors. So, in conclusion, Tell Me More encourages exploration, either directed at others or within ourselves. We improve our ability to navigate emotions, both ours and others, with sensitivity, insight, and love. Thank you so much for listening. I hope everyone applies this today.
So who wants to tell more? Any question? The last one.
They're afraid I'm going to ask them to tell me more if they ask me a question.
Well, thank you, Thera. In your submission, I realized that there's a fine line between empathy and applying EQ. So how do you balance that? Because being empathetic is putting yourself in the shoes of the other. But I hear you say sometimes that can be like a prejudgment, like you're making assumptions in that situation.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
Like I had that empathy with my daughter, but right? I was like, oh, it's so hard, right? So I was being empathetic to a projection of what I thought she was experiencing. Does that make sense? So if we're curious, I mean, we could still be empathetic if someone says, I missed my school, I missed the building design. Oh, I know what that feels like. I could put myself in her shoes and say like, oh, when we've moved houses over and over again, there's some designs of houses that I miss. So I could understand what that feels like. But I'm curious first, and you're getting the person to tell you more so you could adequately align your empathy and put yourself in their shoes. But people put themselves in shoes that aren't the shoes of the other person.
Yeah.
Because they're projecting, they're making assumptions.
Yeah.
Good, that's good.
I was going to ask you, how do we, maybe you have a strategy or something that we could do to self-regulate in moments where things are heated, perhaps, and we're in a hard meeting or we're confronting someone or someone's confronting us. How do you self-regulate in that moment? Because I think we can all later in the day go, oh man, my reaction wasn't the best. But in that moment, how do you self-regulate in a difficult situation?
So the pause is key. And also, I think grounding and being in the moment. right? So let's say I start to notice a dysregulation, which could be rapid breathing, or I'm not focused, my prefrontal cortex is off, I'm not focused. And we could say, okay, pause. I'm here, touching this podium, I'm safe. I'm looking around the room, I see flags. Like, so you start naming things around you. So think about your 5 senses. What are the 5 senses? Sight, smell, touch, taste, sound. Okay, what do I hear? Tapping, I hear the noise, right? So if we engage all 5 senses, it kind of grounds us, and then we're in the moment, and that can re-regulate our head and our heart, that nervous system can regulate, and then we could start to problem solve around that. But it's super hard, and it does take practice to pause, because we feel like I have to answer quickly. I don't have time to pause. We do have time to pause, right? And then to re-regulate and say, I'm safe. And what are some words I could go back to that could be a foundation for me? I am loved. I am like when Raphael said, it's the worst thing is to read a presentation. I got dysregulated back there. I was like, I had sweat. It was on my seat. Did you see that sweat on my seat? It's nasty. And I got dysregulated. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm safe. I'm loved. There's flags in the room. There's lights. There's fires there. I grounded myself, okay? And I was like, the worst thing that happens, it'll be okay. I'm not going to lose the job. I'm volunteering. It's not. Right? So we can pause and say, I'm safe. I'm here.
Thank you, Thera. You mentioned that we might be in disagreement, so I felt we could exercise maybe a conflict resolution here as we close out. So would you say it would be safe to assume you know nothing, so ask the other person to tell you more?
So the second part, assume they know nothing.
Assume you know nothing.
But assume I know
so
nothing.
Ask
it
them
is
to
like,
tell you
me
more.
Yes.
Yeah?
But you know what I thought about? One time I told my husband I'm going to put pizza in the oven. And he said, make sure you take the cardboard off the bottom. So he assumed I know nothing about putting pizza in the oven.
So he should have asked.
So he could have said, yes, like...
Or informed or asked in a way that was more...
Tell me more about how you plan on putting that pizza in the oven. Or assume they don't know your intentions, and you assume you don't know their, not intentions, their, like I said, I can't assume someone's coming to grief counseling because they love and they miss their father. It could be because she needed to process unresolved grief about a lot of anger and resentment towards her father. So I have to assume she knows nothing of, like, so I could see what you're saying. So we're saying the same thing.
I just want to make sure we reach a consensus.
Do we all agree that we kind of said the same thing?
Yeah. Soft skills applied. 101. Thank you so much. A round of applause.
Thank you.
Thera Storm.